This is Remnant 2. We're here on PlayStation 5. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is one of the earlier Unreal Engine 5 games to hit the consoles. It's something I covered on the Series X and have seen on the Series S as well, and I thought, hey, this is probably a pretty good time to take a look at it on the PlayStation 5 side of things. Seeing what we got here, some of the improvements and just really the technology at play here between the different game modes and performance levels that are present. So the game here starts out in this Last of Us type area where Earth is overgrown, things aren't great, and yeah, everything's kind of falling apart. This is basically like a Dark Souls shooter game, if you're not familiar with it, and it is meant for cooperative play, but you can, really go about it however you'd like. But yeah, the game really does look visually quite impressive in terms of what it has to offer, and gameplay can be a little grueling and annoying at times, but and some of the bosses are ridiculous. But alas, yeah, it's interesting. So you got an FOV modifier, and then we've got three different modes. So this is the balance mode. So basically, across the board, this game's like targeting like a 1440p upsample. So it's trying to get to there. And for balanced, it's a 60 FPS target, and it's more like 800-ish p is the internal resolution scaling. So basically, it's a low resolution that they're like bumping up to a higher resolution, and the effect here is actually pretty good. It does get a little bit more paper thin though when you're kind of like, as in really blurry when crazy things are going on. Then we have the quality mode. So quality mode is your 30 FPS, and this one is a little bit higher. It's like your bounds is more like 1300p. It looks a lot cleaner and a lot more close to the actual image of what they're trying to present, and still not really fully where things are. Now, there are some variants between these modes too, just in terms of like the foliage and like the ambience of the world. And then, of course, we have finally the basically your uncapped mode, which is your performance uncapped. So, yeah, this one is, again, basically, it's like 720p-ish, but you get up to 120 FPS, and it's not like perfect at 120. And keep in mind that YouTube doesn't support 120 FPS at the current point in time, but I can actually play and capture at that sort of level now, which is awesome, because we literally weren't able to when I was doing my Series X review and stuff of this game. Like, I have played through this, I have worked through the game, I have done some runs and stuff like that, because it's like it's a game of runs, so you kind of do it, and then there's like a harder difficulty, and then there's some other variants to it, and I'm sure it's one of those games that will probably get more like updates and expansions and support and stuff. Like, it is something that basically gives you that sort of effect, which is neat. And yeah, it uses the nanite, the virtual shadow maps. It's actually pretty like intensive in terms of like hitting the UE5 kind of features and stuff like that. But I think balanced mode is going to typically be your sort of thing, especially if you don't have, like a TV that supports basically like a higher frame rate and stuff like that. This is probably going to be the best bang for your buck, and they have actually made some pretty good, I guess you would say, efforts on improving the visual quality of the game. And yeah, like I said, I don't even know if this really shows this game off perfectly in terms of gameplay, because when you do get to the actual like missions and stuff like that, and you do get to the levels, you're basically moving through these kind of semi-open world hub areas, doing a few quests, blasting enemies, and then going off to basically like another area to do that again. And then there's different elements of like your end game and things sort of cycling over in terms of basically like your challenge, the way you're blasting and killing stuff. And yeah, so this is just really something that the idea of this kind of area here is really to ease you into the gameplay. And then there's some gnarly bosses, and that was a big thing too, is how annoying the bosses could be in this game. Like some of them were downright brutal, and then you add to the element of like really, really bad performance in some areas, and you know, blurriness in some spots. Like the end boss was basically just like not really doable initially because of how bad it was to like kind of fight it performance wise. But you get some decent gameplay time, and then as I said, you kind of re-roll the dice and you go through areas. And yeah, that's a kind of a gameplay loop that quite a few people are really into gameplay wise. Like they genuinely do find this to be kind of interesting. And I mean, there's, if you like this game, the first game as well, which is very similar to this. I mean, it doesn't really use the same like level of like technology and stuff like that. Like it is a game from its time, but that one's kind of impressive, and just like the movement and the feel of the games is basically similar between them, like the vibe and everything like that. They're just different environments that you're kind of visiting, and yeah, it all makes kind of sense when you play the games and check them out.
Ain't no way the war's real. How would a nest like this out here?
So yeah, like I was saying, you can play it alone, but the real fun of this is if you actually play it together, with up to 3 players kind of blasting things, working together to destroy monsters and creatures. And as I said, it's a shooter game, but there are melee type options too, and different weapons and skill things. And yeah, you get to go to some really creepy places. There's like this alien type world. There's this creepy weird, I want to call it like a bit of an Aztec like forest, as to say, which was really quite neat. It's just a few different areas. Like it's both a hardcore amount, but also But yeah, I definitely see like the difficulty of it. And you get to make your own character and stuff too. There's a decent selection of things you can choose from. You're just trying to get better gear variants and improve stuff, battling through the different biomes, getting better rewards, exploring the new areas over time. And apparently the third one is on the way too, which really isn't too much of a surprise. I was kind of expecting more, like, sort of expansions, if that makes sense. Like, the first game, if you're not familiar with the original Remnant, they added so much content to that game. It's really, really actually impressive how many, like, new areas and stuff they enjoyed over time. You were a good friend too. It's a shame that we have to die several minutes into the game, and we'll never get to see the rest of it. How tragic. So ever tragic. Yeah, they have some fun with things. You can go off some paths. It's like I said, it's pretty like linear, but at the same time, there is a little bit of freedom. So you might find like a little hidden side area. You might gather some new items, and yeah, it is pretty linear though, especially as you get to like the more set areas, like this portion or the kind of near the end of the game, and you kind of really funnel along, have to fight crazy bosses that are so ridiculously spongy. Now, one annoying thing is like having to restart runs though if you get to like a wall of sorts and can't progress. It really is like a wall. And then you gotta spin the wheel and kind of, you know, restart your thing. And there's some variation to what you do in your playthroughs, but it is basically like, you know, it is the same areas essentially each time you go about it. It's just the ordering and that changes a little bit. And then there's also like these, I guess you would call them test runs, as to say, where you can go in and not impact your particular run that you're doing and sort of explore areas or fight in areas. And, yeah, because it's about getting loot and tools and weapons and stuff, and then improving and modifying those loot weapons and then your special abilities that you have while you're fighting these things. It's just kind of like a grotesque, overgrown world where this corruption is just, I guess, spreading a bit across the galaxy, as to say. That's really the idea here, and you're just, I don't know if you're a freedom fighter, but you're like, you're just a survivalist. You're just trying to make it out and, you know, live another day and stuff in a really, really unforgiving world that you're exploring. It's neat though. Like I think the vibe here really captures things well, and honestly, it does look, I think, pretty significantly improved. from when the game first came out too. I've noticed that across the platform, especially when I was revisiting the game for Series S and stuff. I was like, okay, they've done some work on kind of just the clarity of it. But this area always did look better because it is, you know, more linear set. It's not as ambitious and wild. And I wish the story was a little bit more wild too. Like there is a narrative here, but like, you know, it's not not some kind of wild story or anything like that. It's anything is a little almost silly. There's like this sort of like vortex hub area. I'm trying to do this without spoiling things too, I guess, to some degree, but it's like a vortex kind of area thing. Your character sort of goes there occasionally to get context and part of this big battle thing. And eventually you kill enough bosses and monsters and you get to the end of it and you get like a pat on the back, and it's kind of a neat game. The music goes pretty hard. It's mostly for me, it's just like, man, the difficulty stuff can be grueling, and you can really crank up the difficulty too. Even at a base level it was hard, but I think with the improvements to the quality of, like, you know, well, the fidelity and also like just the performance levels, it makes it so much easier to like actually get through this game and not be as, you know, stressed as I was. That's for sure. And then you can always play with other players too, and these games tend to do pretty well for player bases. So
You okay?
I don't think you'll necessarily have trouble coming across,
I'll bet.
you know, people that can help you, or people you can battle with. It's just whether or not they stick with you long enough to get stuff done. Playing the first game, actually, I was really not huge on that one, because that one, like, I really was just struggling with it, because I think I played that one ahead of launch. And then I was doing my revisit for it on Series X, and somebody joined in, and we just kind of like cruised through a lot of the stuff, and I was like, wow, this is actually kind of fun. So I think that's a big part of it, is actually doing the co-op, as opposed to like just playing it by yourself and dealing with how grueling it can be. Like, it's nice to, you know, I'm not really stressed out about it because we're just kind of taking a look at it on the PlayStation 5, but yeah, some of the stuff, like, it could be pretty daunting. It really genuinely can be pretty daunting. And then there's this card system. So then you use your points and you get different cards and you improve your cards, and your cards are kind of how your character is able to sort of take on the problems that arise. And yeah, it's kind of neat. And this is your main hub, so this is where you come back. Like, you come back here, it's through like a crystal system of checkpoints, and like with Dark Souls, you rest at the different checkpoints in order to, like, you know, replenish your stuff and your healing things and that. And there are other little things you can find along the way too, little items that can help you. Yeah, you best be on your way.
Ah, sorry, Andrew Ford. Good.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Heard stories on the road. I just finally got here today in order to progress the narrative plot. Yeah, they're trying to teach you about these characters, but these characters really don't matter a whole lot. They're just kind of like the backbone of stuff you're doing. Here's where you do your upgrades for your different stuff once you get to the point of having different things to upgrade. And this is like your shooting. There's like a practice range over here, and these guys sell different ability things. And yeah, that's the whole thing on itself. We're said to talk to Wallace. Yeah, Wallace is doing. But no, it really does paint an apocalyptic look. I remember starting this game and just kind of being like really floored by the visuals, which I thought was interesting. Wait, aren't I supposed to talk to this guy? Where are you, Wallace? Unexplored. Oh no, that's just the unexplored area. Well, I don't know where Wallace is. Can't remember where Wallace is. He could be anywhere. Oh, I guess I was supposed to follow this guy. Okay, never mind. We're here. I think, yeah, this is where we're supposed to go, I believe. Anyways, lots of depth and detail to this one, and yeah, it's not too bad on the PlayStation 5 here, I'd say for sure. It's kind of neat to revisit games after playing them when they originally released, and just kind of seeing,
Skill set, you're right.
you know, how they change.
Eager to get moving, huh? I like that.
Oh, okay, well, I guess I am supposed to talk to Wally first. Wally. Where is Wally? Yeah, I forgot that I think you're supposed to talk to like a bunch of random kind of people around here. Like, just let me get into the open world, man. Who are you?
You are right, mother. I'm just pulling. I also make a lot of folks still ain't.
Alright, thanks, man.
Watch your back. You know who to trust out
Are you Wallace? I literally don't know which of these characters is which. Who are you? Okay. No, that's not it. I want to zoom. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, but it doesn't really highlight who is who, right? I remember it telling me who was who back in the day. Overlooking the docks. Okay, there we go. See, was that so hard? Then I know where they are. Okay, now I see this giant indicator. Usually on your map, it'll tell you. I guess you do have to like find out certain areas too in this one. Like you'll move through it, and it's like the fog of war makes it a lot harder to see things. But yeah, I remember just being like, "Whoa, wow, this looks so good," and then getting into the game and just being like, "Oh, this performance is tanking," and you know the FSR of it all, right? Is a big thing. Oh, you're down there. Okay, I went too high. I don't see the point of this overreaching area, but whatever. It's like I said, you really don't talk or interact to these guys. Like you do in the game, but you don't really. Okay, so then we got an archetype. I picked medic, which would have been great had because I basically played it by myself because there wasn't people as far as I was. So when you can have a doggo, which is pretty good. Medic's really good if you're playing as a team. So I guess I'll just be a medic for whatever reason. And your class type influences your, you know, your experience and your weapons and your tools and stuff like that. Medic! And don't worry, you'll get lots of, like, different types of gear and that over the course of your journey, especially as you get more and more items. Need more FaceTime, you know what I'm saying. It allows my audience to connect with me if they can see a face. Well, actually, you're supposed to have a no mask, or no. You're supposed to have a mask on so that people can easily resonate and see themselves in you. But putting a face to a cause is a good thing too. Hello there.
I swear to God and my mother. Alright, so...
Yeah, okay. And they're just saying random stuff. It's just so you meet the different people and get you going. Yeah, crafting.
There. That ought to help. So we're done. Good.
Yeah, I guess we'll leave. Thanks.
So I'll make you a deal. I am...
Yeah, that person's actually important. Most of these other ones, not so much. Yeah, step of the journey.
Riggs is gonna go see Rick.
And I get a gun. Just getting you ready to go out there and battle to the death, right? It's actually a downgrade? Great. There we go, that's better. Alrighty. Oh, now I got talked to Riggs. That's what I was saying. Like, I hate the busy work you have to do when you're first starting games. It's always like, oh, go do this, go do that. Talk to these guys.
Oh, friend. That's right. Speaking of which, we all have...
Yeah, whatever, dude.
I don't suppose... Right. Come to...
And he'll upgrade my stuff.
So long.
Thanks, man. Weapon upgrades, you know how it is. Anyways, this probably doesn't show how difficult that this game can be, but there certainly is an edge of difficulty to it for you to see when you dive in and play the game and see what it has to offer, but it is a pretty interesting title. I think you can have a fair bit of fun. I would recommend playing with others, because it does have that difficulty, you know, kind of loop to it and stuff, but I do think you can probably, you know, handle it and see where it is. And I think it's just a lot easier to work through, battle, shoot things, blast stuff now that you don't have to deal with the issues of performance and stuff as badly as I did. And I kind of look forward to eventually diving in and playing the third one, or I don't know if I look forward to it, but I understand that it is something that is going to be happening down the road.